Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be checking out the fourth album by Björk, which is Vespertine. This has, again, been highly awaited, just like Homogenic and all of the other albums I've reacted to before that. So, if you haven't seen any of my reactions to Björk's previous stuff, such as Debut, Post, Homogenic, other things, live performances, stuff like that, the whole Björk Marathon playlist will be linked either in the comments or the description. So I highly recommend you try and watch as much of that as you can before you watch this video of the Vespertine reaction. I am very, very excited. Again, I got my handy sheets for each track on the album that kind of help summarize the track, the backstory behind everything. I really enjoyed doing that for Homogenic. It really helped me get an idea as to what the album was about, her mindset, just the general, landscape of the album, if you, I guess you could call it. 55 minutes, 39 seconds, 12 songs. This is probably her longest album that I've heard yet. I can't remember how long Homogenic was. I'm going to go, okay, my prediction for how this album will sound. I think this is going to be her most low-key album yet. Debut obviously started off. Debut and Post are kind of the most upbeat and kind of less experimental when you compare it to Homogenic. Homogenic kind of gets the Vespertine era started off, because you get hints of what I think this album could end up sounding like in Homogenic. But you also have this more experimental side in Homogenic that you didn't really get in Debut and Post. So basically my overall prediction for this album is that it's going to be very low-key, her most low-key, heartbreaking ballads, gorgeous production like we heard on Pagan Poetry, kind of this etherealness, with really, really powerful lyrics. And I'm excited. I don't know if it will be my favorite album, if this is what sound we're going to get, but I did really enjoy Pagan Poetry, so I'm obviously not going to say it won't be my favorite because, I haven't heard it yet. So we start off with the first track, Hidden Place, 5 minutes, 28 seconds. Let's dive in. Again with those ethereal ass vocals in the back. Oh, the strings, my. Oh, those strings. Oh, wow. Those are so satisfying to hear. I love that. I kind of feel like I'm under the sea with this sound. It's absolutely gorgeous. I just want to hear those strings. Whoa! That sounds kind of like opera. I really want to hear those strings kick in again. again, that more, like, we get more bass and everything to the max. Wow. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, ooh. Wow. I really am enjoying this part. Just her vocals, kind of.
Still strong, dark and divine.
Hey. I'm getting this beat back. Dude, the backing vocals are kind of doing it for me. They're really adding so much to this kind of environment. Those strings, I can't. Incredible. It still blends like this bass and kind of, you know, low-key, almost hip-hop, R&B sounding beat behind it. Huge fan. Huge fan. This is an incredible opener. Maybe one of her best album openers ever. Better than, you know, I'm trying to remember the previous couple of album openers that she has had. Was Human Behavior or Crying the opener for debut? Because Post was Army of Me, right? And then Homogenic was Hunter. Yeah, this is her best album opener. This is such a great opening track. Gets us in the mood. Those backing vocals do so much heavy lifting, but not all the heavy lifting. I love the addition of that string. You know, the bass that is still incorporated, the beat that is still incorporated within this song. Again, vocally. What else do I have to say about that? This was the lead single as well, which is a very, very interesting lead single choice, but I can see why she went with it. Hidden Place and Pagan Poetry as some of the singles here. Really good choice for the singles for this era. So Hidden Place is sort of about how two people can create a paradise just by uniting. You've got an emotional location that's mutual and it's unbreakable, and obviously it's make-believe, so you could argue that it doesn't exist because it's invisible, but of course it does. That is, I mean, of course, it's gorgeous. And then the strings, okay, the strings are a sample from, you know, an older composer. The string sample introduced on the first chorus and heard throughout the song was taken from Austrian-American composer Arnold Schoenberg's 1899 Transfigured Night Op. 4. That is interesting. I did not realize that it was a sample, but again, kind of using that sample, very, very well done. Incredible opening track. That leads us to track number 2, Cocoon. My goodness. Let's just hear it well, actually there's no transition, but I imagine there will be a couple transitions on this album, right? Ooh, I like those claps. It's kind of like flamenco. This is like gut-wrenching.
After sharing my core would stay going nowhere.
I know those aren't claps, but they sound like claps. I'm just trying to think of what what's she using for this sound.
This immense. Who would have known a saintly trance? Who would have known miraculous breath to inhale a beard loaded with courage? Who would have known?
Dude, this vocal kind of style that she's using on this one is really sick.
Magical sensitivity would approach a girl like me who caresses, cradles his head in a bosom.
That is so sick. What is that, bro?
He slides inside, half awake, half asleep. We faint back into sleephood. When I wake up a second time in his arms, gorgeousness. He's still inside me. Who would have known?
Oh my goodness. No way. Dude, her breathing. You can hear her breathing because it's just her voice, obviously. That was a really cool moment. Part of me was like, is this gonna like open up a little bit? But I'm kind of glad it didn't. That part was gorgeous. Yeah, this is definitely a track that has like some sexuality in nature. Like her vocal style is almost giving like moans or like kind of
to a boy.
It's gorgeous, whatever she's talking about, but I mean, I can only assume. Dude, that like little section of just her vocals, you can hear her breathing, no instrumental behind it. That second half was really, really solid. I mean, the whole track was really good. That was a gorgeous track. I love the instrumental, the almost like, you know, clappy sounding, whatever was going on there. I want to revisit that moment, though. Dude. That is so good. That was a gorgeous track. That was a gorgeous track. We are 2 for 2 so far. What an incredible opening to this album. I am interested to kind of read more about what this is about. Obviously, I mean, I guarantee it's sexual in nature, but I want to read more kind of what it is deeper about. So this was a third single, so it was Hidden Place, then Pagan Poetry, then Cocoon as the singles. Can't go wrong there. Is a sweet and somber synth tune with skittering, almost ASMR-like microbeats, celebrating love and intimacy specifically to her then-boyfriend, Matthew Barney. Lyrically, it describes a woman making love with her significant other during their post-coital hibernation. Okay, like the Cocoon. And features frank sexual narratives relayed both explicitly and metaphorically. The lyric to Cocoon was a whole diary, then I had to edit 90% of it out. It's very hard to explain, but when I read it and the other person reads it, we don't feel abused or anything. I think there's songs where I've been more scruffy about what I'm expressing. I have a problem with music that's too indulgent. It's like, keep your own dirty laundry, please. Interesting. Okay, I was kind of partially right. Again, lyrics kind of at the backbone, but I'm glad I have this to kind of summarize it to the point where I'm not getting actually like overwhelmed with what I'm hearing. I feel like this is the perfect pace for me, and I am enjoying this section. And then kind of, looking into the lyrics a little after I get kind of used to the sound of the song sonically, I feel like that's the best listening method for me. Yeah, what an opening to this album, Hidden Place and Cocoon. Both gorgeous tracks, and yeah, that leads us to It's Not Up to You, which I'm sure will be just as good as the first two tracks that we've heard. Oh, dude, this may be her best album. I take, it's not that I didn't have expectations, but I didn't know if I personally would be vibing with it as much as, say, Homogenic or even Post, for example, but wow.
Wake up and the day feels broken. I tilt my head. I'm trying to get an angle, 'cause the evening I have always longed for.
Definitely sounds like strings.
It could still
Kind of
happen.
might be coming. Very like whimsical to start.
How do I muster the perfect day? 6 glasses so water, 7 phone calls. If you leave it alone, it might just happen.
Ooh.
Anyway, it's not up to you.
Oh, with that beat kicking in.
Never it's not up to you. Oh, it never it's not up to you.
Love that hook.
Well, it never it's not up to you.
Wow. That was a gorgeous hook. I wasn't expecting that to open up quite as much as it did.
If you wake up and the day feels broken, just lean into the crack and it will tremble.
Oh.
Ever so nicely, notice how it sparkles down there. I can decide what I give, but it's not up to me what I get given. Unthinkable surprises about to happen.
I was expecting a hook.
It's not
There we go.
Well, it never really was. Oh, it never really was.
This is so Disney. Oh. Yeah, this is like cinematic Disney. Holy crap. It's a very wintry feel to it. This song in particular feels like very cold, fit for winter time. This part especially reminds me of like, you know, a melodic structure that we would hear on like a Christmas song. I'm trying to think of what Christmas song is coming to mind with that, but very much so. That was so good. That was like, okay, the first track on this album so far that I think, wait, it's not over yet. That has like a actual like structural hook to kind of latch onto, which I think a lot of people will be fans of that. Mm-hmm. Wow. I like that kind of like... I don't even know what that's called, but it sounds very familiar at the end there. That like ticking. Dude, what a track. What a track. I'm not saying it's my favorite yet because I think Hidden Place is, but that's insane. That's insane. That was cinematic in the best way possible. Felt like Frozen, something like out of Frozen or Disney. Very wintry feeling. And yeah, I agree with the kind of, you know, because it says here, obviously, accessible. I feel like a lot of people will find that song accessible just because of how, you know, I'm not going to say basic structurally it is, but how, you know, kind of more open it is structurally compared to the first two tracks. You know, it has a hook that you can kind of, you know, this kind of catchiness aspect. So I get that. Which it doesn't really make me like it more or less compared to the first two tracks. But what a run. What a 3-track run. So yeah, most accessible and direct episodes on the whole album, along with Pagan Poetry, Hidden Place, and Unison, but still has all the elements that contribute to the Vespertine sound. The lyrics explore the feeling of frustration that occurs whenever we want to control every aspect of our life. When we act like that, everything that just doesn't go the way we expected it to drives us crazy. Björk tells the listener that the best thing to do in these cases is just to give everything we can without having any expectations and let things go the way they have to, knowing that we have no control of them. That's a great message. And I mean, you know, listening, you can kind of see that that's what she's trying to convey. Undo, and then after Undo, a song we're familiar with in Pagan Poetry. Let's do it.
It's not meant to be astray. It's not meant to be a struggle up here. Oh,
That's a very nostalgic sound. Ooh. Interesting drum pattern.
Yourself
can feel that pressure kind of just building up in this part. She crying? What's happening? There's like a lot of breathing and I don't know what that is. Oh wow. Oh wow. Is that a choir? Choir? Yeah. Again, this is Christmas. This sounds like Christmas. I love this choir section. The song is like immensely growing on me the second half. That choir section was incredible. And I mean just generally that back half of the song really made me like it a lot more. It feels like a song that I'm going to have to probably return to, but it's still really solid. Just compared to the first three, I feel like it doesn't stand out as much in the track list, especially when you have it even sandwiched between It's Not Up to You and Pagan Poetry. But I still really enjoyed that one. That was really good. And then we have now Pagan Poetry, a song to look forward to. Björk recorded her vocals on top of Nax, the producer for this album, I'm presuming. His minimalist rhythmic backbone, and months later she added a full choir and string section. The song also samples 1% in 2/3 speed on While You Were Sleeping by Opiate, which is cool. Cool. A lot of interesting samples on this album, which I like kind of mentioning whenever there is a sample to kind of obviously give credit to, you know, whoever. Because sometimes I'm not aware that something is a sample, but I like how she's utilizing all the samples. But what a 4-track run, about to be a great 5-track run because we've heard Pagan Poetry before. So let's just go into that and, again, watch my Pagan Poetry reaction if you have not done so. Because this isn't, you know, necessarily a first reaction to the track.
Darling, through the dark currents, I find an accurate copy, a blueprint of the pleasure in secret code card, a secret code card.
This is such a good song. One of her best songs in her whole discography, I think.
He offers a handshake, crooked 5 fingers, they form a pattern, yet to be matched on the surface simplicity.
I'm in love with the dark bass in this track. I love the growl. Wow. And then this ending is incredible.
I love him, 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 I love him. This time I'm gonna keep it to myself. This time I'm gonna keep me all to myself. But it makes me want to hide myself. But it makes me want to
Incredible track. Incredible. Now, Frosty is an instrumental track. 1 minute, 41 seconds. I'm interested to see. First instrumental only track, I think, in Björk's discography up to this point, which is cool. What a 5-track run. Pagan Poetry, again, up there for one of my favorite Björk songs so far that I've heard. Again, it's just so wintry. It's like icicles. It's got that like frozen vibe I cannot explain. I don't know if the whole album was supposed to sound this kind of winterized, but this is beautiful. I feel like an album like kind of maybe Debut or Post is more fit for the summertime. This just feels so like almost desolate, you know what I mean? It could be like a good separator from kind of the first 5 tracks to maybe like the end of the album. I like this instrumental track. Sets up Aurora, which is the next track, which also kind of plays into this kind of, you know, wintry theme. Oh, I love that transition. Seamless. Had a feeling that was gonna happen. Hey, okay, snow, yeah, hell yeah. That is sick. Like boots kind of stomping into snow. That is so creative. Dude, this instrumental. I love that melody. So good. When was this released? Doesn't say the date. Unfortunately, I was wondering the month that this was released. Yeah, that hook melody is gorgeous. Oh. Is there choir in this too? It definitely sounds like it, for sure. What a track. The kind of, you know, mental pictures that kind of were presented in this one, or that Björk kind of presented with this track, insane. Again, the creativity in using the kind of crunches of the snow in the instrumental. Again, the choir, the melody in the hook of this track is gorgeous. And again, solidifies the Christmas vibes for me. This track, and a couple of other ones I can't remember exactly, but it definitely also feels like Frosty and Aurora are kind of like a combination that you have to listen to kind of the opening instrumental track before you listen to Aurora. That kind of sets it up really nicely. But I'm a huge fan of that one. Huge fan of that one. And now track 8, An Echo, a Stain. I have heard that this is a very iconic track in Björk's discography, so I am excited to check this one out in particular. But, dude, this is flying by so far, and I'm enjoying this immensely. Oh, no. This already feels like I'm in a movie theater. I don't really know what to expect. Wow. Hold on.
She touched my arm and smiled. One of these days, soon, very soon.
Where are we going with this?
Love you till the
I like that little whoop.
love you till
I feel something building.
feel my breath on your neck, and your heart will raise.
This is so like dramatic. It's just I feel like I'm constantly on edge with this track. Something's looming. It's
You can't say no to me.
oh. This is such a weird feeling I'm getting with this track. I mean, it's almost definitely intentional. This build-up that just keeps kind of coming and going out of nowhere.
I'm sorry you saw that. I'm sorry he did it.
Wow. Gorgeous vocals. Come on.
I can't say no to you.
This is such an interesting track. Wow. It's very like eerie and unsettling.
I said,
Yeah, like we're not gonna get a climax either, which is weird. like endless build up and kind of just like, you know, haunting vocals. I love what she did vocally on this track.
Complete.
Dude, that was haunting. That was another side of Björk on this album that kind of very, very different. I mean, I can see why it's labeled as iconic. This is unlike any other track in her discography. Yeah, I mean, I definitely whatever she was trying to do, I felt unsettled, on edge, you know, uncomfortable. And that I was expecting something, but I didn't get it. And, you know, maybe again, this is what the kind of subject matter of the track kind of showcases. But yeah, this song received universal acclaim from music critics. The lyrics of the song are based on Sarah Kane's play Crave, a one-act play. Crave uses a non-linear poetic style. The dialogue is intertextual. There is no context nor stage directions, and characters A, B, C, and M have identifiable sex and gender only from context within the play. Crave continues the theme of pain in love that Kane had explored with previous plays, but is stylistically a departure. The play contains several dark themes presented as issues haunting the four characters, including rape, incest, pedophilia, anorexia, drug addiction, mental instability, murder, and suicide. So, okay, the subject matter, that was what she was trying to get across. That makes total sense. But I'm still a huge fan of that one. I was just not expecting the intensity of that one to really come out. Huge fan of that one. Now we have Sun in My Mouth, track number 9.
I will wait out till my thighs are steeped in burning flowers. I will take the sun in my mouth and leap into the ripe air, alive with closed eyes, to dash against darkness in the sleeping curves of my body. I shall enter fingers of smooth mastery.
Wow.
With chisels of silver.
Wow.
Will I complete the mystery?
The instrumentation of this is off the charts.
My flesh, will I complete the mystery?
Yeah. See, I'm now used to 4 or 5 minute tracks that a 2 minute and 40 minute or 2 minutes and 40 second track feels short to me. Really wish this track was longer. Like, this is what we need to go back to, the longer tracks. Yeah, see, that was like almost too short for me to kind of get into it and kind of it grow on me while also listening to it at the same time. You know what I mean? Because there's, you know, Björk's songs are long enough to the point where, like, okay, if I didn't get it the first kind of half, I still have that second half to kind of, you know, get kind of familiar with the sound. And that one's kind of one of them where I thought was gorgeous. I love the instrumentation of that one. That kind of brings back the very choiry sound that we had on the earlier section of the album. But it was also 2 minutes and 40 seconds wasn't long enough for me to kind of get situated within the track, which, you know, maybe that's just a me thing, but I really, really enjoyed it regardless. Really, really enjoyed that one. Gorgeous track. For this song, its lyrics were adapted from E. E. Cummings' poem I Will Wait Out from 1923. Her vocals are accompanied by a string orchestra, a harp, and soft electronica. The vocal technique of Björk gives the listener the impression that she is singing close to them, with even breaths clearly audible, which has been the theme kind of the whole album long, which I have really, really enjoyed. The lyrics' references to bodily parts represent unambiguous sexuality. These images of the body and sexuality, however, appear besides images of nature. I kind of had a feeling that was the what the references were, but yeah, this whole kind of, you know, vocal technique of Björk being very, very close to the mic, hearing these kind of audible breaths is something that I'm really, really enjoying. Because I've always liked kind of when it's just her and kind of no instrumentation. One thing that I would really, really enjoy if Björk did, and maybe she does have this in her discography, I'd be interested to know, if she does have like an ambient album. You know, this isn't quite ambient music, you know, just like full on like instrumental tracks, you know, something along that ambient, I don't know, line, kind of like Ethel Cain's Perverts in a way, without the kind of more, maybe leaning in a more ethereal way, kind of like Vespertine. I would be interested to know if she does any ambient kind of stuff, because I really, really like it. But we have Heirloom next. 3 tracks left. This album is flying by, and it's going to be over so soon. Switch up. This is a different sound from everything, kind of. At least it feels like it's going to be a different sound. Ominous? Back to the ominous vibes. Okay. Very interesting drums here. Okay. Then it's airy, this airy kind of pad, maybe. This is a sick instrumental.
I have a recurrent dream. Every time I lose my voice, I swallow little glowing lights.
I'm a huge fan of this one already.
My mother and son baked for me during the night. They do a trapeze walk until they're in the sky, right above my bed, while I'm asleep.
Whoa! Hold on.
My mother and son pour into me.
I'm loving the difference in instrumentation.
Into my wide open throat, I have a recurrent dream. Every time I feel a hoarseness, I swallow warm glowing lights. My mother and son baked for me.
This definitely feels like it could kind of be on post or homogenic almost. It's not jarring by any means, but I'm appreciating the kind of switch up in sound. It's really nice. you get garage in here? Sounds like garage. What a fascinating track, kind of in the midst of what we've heard before. Wow, that was amazing. That's up there for one of my favorites. Again, the instrumentation is just so dynamic. You don't know what's coming. It's just a standout in kind of the kind of more low-key production of this album. Dude, that was so sick. Really appreciate that one. Breaking up this kind of, you know, more low-key vibe, which I've been loving the low-key vibe too. A little bit unexpected, but Harm of Will is next. Harm of Will is next. So for this song, it alters between what sounds like a samba preset on a vintage Wurlitzer organ and skittering breakbeats, and is decorated with inverted synth tones and analog keyboards. The song's lyrics tell a fuzzy story about a recurring dream while likening the art of singing to swallowing and exhaling glowing lights. That's kind of beautiful. That's kind of beautiful when you think about it. What a gorgeous track. In every aspect, that was a great track. Harm of Will is next. Harm of Will. Let's do it. 2 tracks left, guys. Can you believe it? Okay, back to regularly scheduled programming with this album.
If there is a troubadour washing, it is he. If there is a man about town, it is he. There is one to be sought. It is he.
I'm closing my eyes.
If there are 9 shields, they are bought for me.
Again, the thought of Björk using auto-tune is coming back to me. I would love to hear that. I would love to hear that. I'm sure she does use it kind of in the future when her albums gotta get progressively more modern.
This way is as is she, and he placed her unclothed long
I'm loving this choir. I'm loving this choir on this album. Oh, wow. Wow. All those vocals all of a sudden coming in, mixing with the choir.
He has chosen the point
That was cool.
while she is under him, then leave her coyly placed, crouched, sucking him for his eye with
I can't. Sing it. Just sing it. Oh my goodness. we paused. There's the return of that sound. What the fuck is that sound? This is up there for one of my favorites too. Back to back, this and Heirloom. This might be the song that's made me the most emotional out of every song I've heard from Björk before, possibly. This might be one of her most gorgeous tracks and emotional tracks to me that I've ever heard. I'm gonna be honest. This is one that it feels like it is potentially underrated by, you know, Björk fandom, everyone alike. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but that was something else. And we haven't even got to the album closer yet. Unison is the album closer, but that in itself felt like an album closer, which is crazy. But that one has got to be possibly top 3 for me. There's so many good tracks, but I feel like that comes top 3. Again, the emotion that she put into that really kind of... I felt that. We have a 6-minute and 40-something second ending track in Unison. Not ready. Not ready. Last track of the album. This has been a ride so far. And now I'm not going to say it. Shaping Up. Do I say it? Her best album? No, I don't say it. Not yet. Not yet. I'll give it 6 minutes and 45 seconds before I call it. And then, you know. Okay, Unison.
So much on me.
This samples a track, by the way, Arrow Deck by Oval. It samples, which I didn't know.
Born stubborn, me will always be. Before you count 1, 2, 3, I will have grown my own private branch.
That's sick.
This tree.
This is so like playful.
Discipliner, domestically.
This is like jolly and playful. Almost horrifying, but like happy horrifying. Dude. I like this almost like trappy beat. that.
I thrive best hermit style with a beard and a pipe and a parrot on each side. But now I can't do this without you. I never thought I would compromise. I never thought I would compromise. I never thought I would compromise. Let unite tonight. We should don't fight and praise you time. Let unite tonight. One hand loves the other. So
This is so
much
instrumentally interesting too.
Let unite tonight. We should don't fight and praise you time. Let unite tonight. Let unite tonight. We should don't fight and praise you time.
High note. Oh. What a that ending, like that climax, was something out of this world. That did not feel like a 6-minute and 45-second track. What the fuck? Dude, I can't. What do we think of that album? Dude, what did I just listen to? That was a crazy ending track there. That climax was one of the best things of that album, I think. Now, kind of putting this on the scale of debut, post, and homogenic is hard because all of the other 3 albums, I've had time to let it kind of marinate, and like I know how I mostly feel about these albums now. Vespertine, I mean, I love it on first listen. There's only a handful, like a couple of tracks that, while I still think were really good, I need more time to listen to. Those being Undo. I think the latter half of that track was gorgeous, though. I really liked An Echo with Stain. It was very, very sonically interesting. Again, very, like, unique. And again, made me feel a certain way. But again, that's the point. And I feel like I need to revisit that one. So I can give it its full kind of, respect almost. Same with Sun in My Mouth. I feel like that one kind of lacked from being kind of more short than kind of some of the rest of the tracks on this album. But besides that, I feel like every song is quality. Every song is quality. Even the ones that I feel like I need more time with. I feel like that ending 3, Heirloom, Harm of Will, and Unison, I was not expecting the ending of this album to be that strong. I don't know why, but I mean, I find her albums are most strong at the beginning. And then at the end, there's still some good tracks, but nothing kind of like the opening. And it really did replicate the opening 5 tracks. Like, Hidden Place, Cocoon, It's Not Up to You, up there with my favorites. Obviously, Pagan Poetry, Aurora, and then the last 3. Such a sonically interesting album, and it kind of did go the way that I thought it would, with this more low-key style. Obviously, Heirloom was this kind of outlier in that it kind of dealt with more kind of, electronic elements and more kind of, that kind of stuff that she has worked on before. But, like, I love the use of the choir and the strings, and obviously her vocals steal the show in this as well. And then the lyricism seems to be top tier and on another level. This album as a whole definitely feels very, like, wintry and Christmassy, melodically and kind of, lyrically, symbolically, everything like that seems to fit up with that timeline. But this is an incredible album, and I don't know, how it stacks up to Homogenic. They kind of feel like pairings. Debut and Post are their own pairing, and then this and Homogenic are kind of their own pairing. And, my thoughts on, what right now, how they stack up against one another, I don't know. I think Vespertine has a stronger body of work from top to bottom, but I feel like the strengths in Homogenic are stronger. Is that fair to say? I don't know, though. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know. I don't know where I stand, but this is an incredible album that may be up for contention with her best. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think her best album is up until this point? Obviously covered her first 4 albums. This was a 2001 album, so 3 years after Homogenic? 4 years after Homogenic? I can't remember the year Homogenic came out. But this is an incredible album. It's different from all her other ones while also maintaining what Björk does best. And kind of, introducing a new sound to her catalog. Basically, what I'm going to do with this Björk marathon, now that we've kind of covered her most 4 iconic albums, I'm going to take a slight break in between, but still cover the music videos from Homogenic and Vespertine, just like I did with the music videos from Debut and Post that I covered. And I'm going to get to some live performances and possibly a ranking of my favorite Björk songs up until this moment. So there's still going to be more content, just no first reaction videos to stuff further down the line from Vespertine just yet. You know what I mean? I kind of have to let everything soak in, I think. But yeah, I am stunned. Again, let me know what your favorite track is from this album. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you guys in the next one.